All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the December anticipated releases video. My name is Mike, and that's it today. None of the other dudes wanted to partake in this releases video because there's not really a whole lot of amazing things coming out this month. Me being the anal freak of the group, that don't take that out of context, by the way. I really wanted to keep this series consistent. So even though the other dudes are there's nothing cool talking about, I'm I guess I'll dig up a couple games that are worth talking about. And there is some good stuff this month. Nick mentioned a couple games that he thought would be cool to bring up in this. So, I'm going to jump right into this. It's going to be a little bit shorter because it's just me. But again, I want to touch through at least a few of the games coming out in December, just to say that we did it. Right? So I want to start off with a game that's very near and dear to my heart, and to a couple other people, and that's Worms, specifically the new game, Worms Rumble, that's coming out. Worms Rumble it has a sour feeling in me. And the reason I say that is if you've played Worms before, it's kind of a strategy turn-based game where there's teams of worms and you control one of the worms at a time and you try to kill the other worms. And it requires strategy. You're put on a timer. You're not in any rush to do anything. It's not high action based. Worms Rumble is. And in fact, the two game modes that it's really been touting are Deathmatch and Battle Royale, where you just play as one worm and you control that worm the whole time, and everyone controls their worms at the same time. And it's essentially just like a battle game, almost like Call of Duty, but with 3D or third-person worm combat. And it's very awkward to watch, and it's concerning because to me, the reason I like Worms is because of, the gameplay of Worms. And so seeing them try to do something so completely different from what Worms normally is a little bit unsettling. I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit weird. I'm not a huge fan of the decision. And I think the reason I'm not a fan of it is because, I look at games like Call of Duty. I look at games like, Halo. Those are my shooter action pew-pew games. Worms was not, and it bothers me a little bit that Worms is kind of going in that direction. Now, granted, it's not an FPS game, right? And it's not it's a third-person game either. It's still the camera angle looks like how it does in Worms. It definitely still has its Worms vibe, and the weapons are the same. You still have the holy hand grenade, the shotgun, all that kind of stuff. It's just weird. It's weird seeing Worms go in this direction, and if it's just a one-off, we wanted to test the water and do something a little quirky, cool, awesome, I'm all on board. I just hope this small turn does not push Worms into a direction that I am not going to like very much. And so so we'll see. But it's Worms. I like Worms. I'm sure it'll be fun. I just hope that it still has the Worms spirit, because changing the gameplay is kind of drastic, considering that's what the game is known for. So that's Worms Rumble. The next game, I guess this is a segue that I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to talk about this game a lot because we talked about it last month and then it got delayed, of course, and that's Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah, that's coming out now, maybe, right? Though I have a feeling when this goes up. What if there's another delay? Who knows with this game? I feel like we've mentioned it 3 times now and it keeps getting delayed. But Cyberpunk 2077, maybe it's for real. If you want to hear us go on about that game, go to last month. Overall, it looks really fun. It's CD Projekt Red. They're a fantastic company. They make great RPG-style games. The setting in this one looks great. It's really cool. But again, I don't want to waste time talking about this game when it's been delayed for so long and we've had so many conversations about it. But it looks fun, and it's great. I'm sure you've heard the news about it. I'm excited for that one. The next thing I wanted to talk about, this is kind of a smaller game. I'm kind of mentioning it as per request of Nick, because I know Nick is really interested in this, and he mentioned this was one of the only releases that he was excited for. But it's a tiny release. It's not even a new game. It's actually a really old game, and that is Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. For those of you that don't know what this is, it's a very old school game. It's actually the first Fire Emblem game to ever be released. It's only ever been out in Japan. And it's the first game to introduce Marth, as you can imagine. It's the first Fire Emblem game. But it was also Marth's first appearance, and so, I don't know if you saw the reveal trailer for it where they said, oh, I don't know where Marth came from Smash Bros. And they're like, what? You haven't played the Japan-only game? I'm like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. No one has. But so that'll be coming out on the Nintendo eShop. So it's not a full release. I think it's only $5 anyway. You can pre-order it, though, which is kind of funny. Talk about pre-ordering a $5 game. But, it looks really interesting. It captures the old school vibe. So it's not a remake or an HD remaster the way that Shadow Dragon for the DS was. This one is just raw, the original game. So, you know, for those of you that are like modern gamers, this probably wouldn't interest you. It's definitely not going to play as smooth and nicely as, you know, the new Fire Emblems that have come out recently, like Three Houses and stuff like that. But for those of you that are looking to like get the retro feel of the old school Fire Emblem games, I'd say this is probably worth checking out. If for no other reason, just to kind of see the origins, right? And see what this game was originally like. It's always fun, at least for me, to play the roots of a game and see where it started. And, you know, it has the whole shebang. It's the strategy combat, you know, the permadeath, all of that is in this. All of those like traits of a classic Fire Emblem game are in this one. So if you're interested in learning about Marth's story, it's cool because this is the first time it's been localized and translated to English. And so it'll be interesting to look at. I'm definitely interested in at least trying it out. Whether or not I'll be able to sit through that whole game, I don't know. But I definitely want to at least play it. You know, I'm a big Fire Emblem fan. I've played pretty much every game in the franchise. And so, you know, except for these ones. And so it'll be cool to kind of see the roots of the Fire Emblem games a little bit. Weird. It is only available until March 31st because, you know, Nintendo. So if you want to pick this up, make sure you get it between now, or I guess between December 4th when it comes out and March 31st. You know, make sure you capitalize on that. Continuing on with Nick's requests, we have Puyo Tetris 2. Again, I'm really only mentioning this because Nick, I know, is kind of interested in it. I'm not a big puzzle gamer myself, though these games look really cool. I'm so awful at any like Tetris, Dr. Mario, Mean Bean Machine, Puyo, any of those types of games. I'm absolute garbage at. The gameplay is very similar, you know, to the original Puyo Tetris. I think the big thing in noting for this is the new game modes that it has. So there is an adventure mode that has like an overworld. There's missions. From what I could tell, there was like side quests, bonus levels. There's characters you can unlock in it, which is really, really cool. Like you wouldn't expect a Tetris game or a Puyo game to have like a story mode, but this one does. So I think that's kind of a cool addition. I'm sure it's not going to be like a flushed out, bring tears to your eyes story, but just the fact that they, you know, that they put something like that into a game like this, I always admire, and I respect when people try to put stuff like that in their games. I think it's kind of interesting. The other cool mode, and I think this was kind of their big selling point, was skill battle mode. It almost kind of reminds me of the oh my gosh, what are they called? The like stickers. Spirits, that's what I'm looking for. Spirits from Smash Bros, where like you can upgrade your fighter and give them certain special characteristics. That's kind of what skill battle's like. So the way it works is you pick 3 characters, and they all have different skill sets. Some of them might be like healers, some of them might be attackers, and basically it's a battle against someone else. And so instead of just trying to like flush out their screen, your goal is to get their HP down to 0. And so you'll have certain characters that are engineers, might mess with the game, that might do extra damage to the other team, or maybe lower the damage that the other team does. Maybe, you know, you'll have a healer that will automatically heal some of your HP every now and then. There's a lot of like different things like that, and so it's kind of cool because it's not just Puyo Tetris anymore. Now it's like, okay, well now let's put the best team together. What are like my skills? How am I at this? And then what kind of team can I put together so I can most efficiently take down my opponent without, you know, taking too much damage myself. And so it kind of adds strategy to a puzzle game, which is kind of a cool idea. And so I'm hoping that there's no like OP setup. You know how like some of these games will be like, well, you have to pick these 3 characters to be successful. I'm hoping it doesn't end up like that. But it looks fun. There's a lot of variety in this sequel, I think, at the end of the day. Enough that I believe warrant picking this game up. So again, if you're interested in puzzle games and you like the first one, it seems to me like there's enough to warrant picking this one up as well. It looks really interesting. Okay. All right. Just a couple more I want to get through. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep it shorter than our normal like 40-minute videos. I actually have only 2 more big games I want to mention. The first one being Shakes on a Plane. I know, it's weird. It's actually made by a very, very small company. They are called Assemble Entertainment. And it's kind of cool. Like they put a little stream together for it and everything. And they like had the developers playing and stuff. It was really cool to see. It looks a lot like Overcooked. It looks like it is less comical and insane than Overcooked, but it has that vibe where you're on a plane and you're serving shakes to the guests on the plane. And it starts off pretty simple, right? You just make it and then you deliver to the customers. But then there starts to be like other traps, right? Like there'll be crowds of people walking by, which seems like a horrible idea on a plane. And then like the plane will have like a little area on it that will just open and you can fall through it. So it has those traps and obstacles you have to get around. So it looks a lot like Overcooked, which I think is awesome, because I absolutely adored Overcooked and Overcooked 2. So it's cool to see that this game definitely seems like a spiritual successor of sorts to those two games. So again, it looks fun. It's a fairly small company. The only downside to this game, and something that was kind of sad to me, is it is only couch/local co-op, so it is not an online game, unfortunately. The first time I saw this game, I'm like, oh my gosh, this will be perfect for like the GoldenDudez, you know, like we can get 4 of us together and we can do some of this and it'll be like our Overcooked days again. But then I saw on there, it is couch co-op only, and if you don't know, I'm, you know, currently like 2,000 miles from the rest of the dudes, so couch co-op doesn't work very well when you're 2,000 miles away from them. So it is a bit sad. I understand, like, especially for a smaller company, making online games can be a bit difficult, you know, but I mean, hopefully at some point maybe they'll add an online mode. I think that would be awesome, because I'm really interested in picking this up. Unfortunately, when my friends are halfway across the country, you know, I don't see a reason to buy it. If there's ever an online mode, you can bet your ass I'm going to be picking this game up. It looks amazing. And if you're able to do couch co-op with your friends, I think it looks worth picking up. And it is a Switch and PC only game, which is also kind of interesting. So go Switch, right? It's one of its only like exclusive games for the month outside of Fire Emblem. So that's kind of cool. All right. Last game I want to talk about before I get into some like just special mentions is, and I'm probably going to butcher this name, I apologize, Immortals Phoenix or something like that. Phoenix Rising. This, I had no idea what this was until I saw it on the list, and I just kind of looked at it and, oh my gosh, this is totally my type of game. It's an open world RPG style game. And I'm like, I thought like I knew all the open world RPG games coming out. So like you can imagine, I was very excited when I saw this one. I'm like, oh, there's one I don't know about. And now I do. And this one's really cool. You play as someone named, again, I might get it wrong, Phoenix. He's a demigod that his whole goal in the game is trying to save Olympus and trying to save the Greek gods. And so from what I've seen in like the trailers and gameplay, you fight a lot of different mythological beasts. So like the Minotaur, Medusa, right? The Greek gods are in this game. There's a lot of Titans in this game. So it has a lot of like really cool Greek mythological creatures and beasts in the game. That's something I'm always super interested in. You might remember when I was touting about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I love ancient Greece and like, you know, the culture, the myth, all of that stuff. And so a game like this immediately stands out to me. Now, I will say this game is not as gritty and realistic as, say, like Horizon Zero Dawn or Skyrim or, you know, Red Dead Redemption. A lot of open world RPGs have the similar graphical style where it's like very gritty and rough and, you know, they try to be as realistic as possible. This game certainly was not going for that. It's a little more vibrant and lighthearted, which is cool, right? I'm not used to seeing like open world RPGs in this type of style. And so I think that immediately is what stood out to me. You know, it's not that it's bad graphics, right? I'm not saying that the graphics are bad. It's just you can tell they were not going for like hyper realistic, you know, sweat down the face and wrinkles and dirt. It's a little more like lighthearted. It's actually rated T, which I'm not used to seeing in open world RPG games. Usually all those games are like rated M because there's like murder and all that stuff. So this one definitely feels different than what I'm used to seeing from open world RPGs. And just like the power-ups, you know, like the wings, the combat, all that stuff, it feels similar to RPGs, but it definitely feels very unique, which is cool. It's not going to be just like a carbon copy that we see so often. And so again, I'm really excited for this. It has the classic boss fights, puzzles, it has power-ups, it has a whole lot of stuff that I think are going to be worth exploring in it. So it's definitely like this flying under the radar game, but I'm definitely going to be picking it up. I'm actually really excited to try this game out now that I've seen it and know what it is. And so, you know, if this sounds interesting to you, you know, I definitely recommend it. It looks cool. It's a Ubisoft game, so they're pretty good at making games, you know. I love Ubisoft games. The company's a little wishy-washy, but they do make good games. And so I'm excited to see what this game ends up like. So those are all the games I really wanted to mention. There's a couple of small things I wanted to mention too, just, you know, little games that I think I don't know a lot about, and I didn't want to do research on them, but I feel like they're worth mentioning because they seem funny. The first one is Wick Hex, because we definitely needed a game based on John Wick. So that one, I saw that and I'm like, that's hilarious. Whatever, John Wick, that's cool. There's a game called Call of the Sea coming out. It's a puzzle adventure game. It almost seems like a point and click type game. You walk around, so it's not just a point and click, but it more seems like it's an interactive environment game. I typically don't like those types of games. They're a little too slow paced, and I don't like feeling like I have to walk around and explore in great detail. But I know those games have a great audience, and this one looks good. So I don't like those games, but I wanted to mention it because those of you that do, this one might be very interesting to you. And then the last one I wanted to mention is a game called Wood Salt. This game I actually did a little more research into, and this one looks really crazy. I cannot get a vibe off this game. So you look at it, and it basically seems like an RPG style game, similar to like Lost Sphere and I Am Setsuna and stuff like that, like just graphical wise. And then like you get scenes like this that like look just terrifying. I could not figure out, and then someone in the chat or in the comments asked the developer, so is this like a visual novel? And the developer was like, yeah, kind of. And I'm like, I cannot get a read off of this game. So I don't know much about it, but I'm really curious what this game is going to be like, and I'm very tempted to buy it just because I don't know what to expect from this game. Is it scary? Is it funny? Is it visual novel? Is it like action? I could not tell you, but it definitely piqued my interest. And the developer team seems really cool. They answer a lot of messages in chat and in the comments on YouTube. So I'm sure it'll be cool and at least filled with hearts. And yeah, so that's it. That's all I have for this month. I wanted to try to keep this under 20 minutes. I might. What is the timer at right now? Oh yeah, I definitely did it. So thanks everyone for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, December was kind of a smaller month, which is why this video is probably a lot shorter than what you're used to seeing from our anticipated releases. I'm assuming that come January, Nick and Travis and Matt or Pat, or at least some combination of us will be back together. It's just me for today because, again, it was a slow month. And all those games I mentioned probably are only interesting to someone like me, except for the couple that I know Nick likes. So yeah, let me know what games you're going to be picking up this month. I know it's the holiday season, so most of the time people are more focused on like trying to get the new PS5 and stuff like that. But if you're buying any new games this month, please let me know, whether it's on here or whether there's a cool little like under the radar indie game coming out that I don't know about. I'm always interested in finding new games. So yeah, I will see you guys in whatever video we do next. Adios, everyone.